Hi, everyone, and welcome to Conversations with Curio, where we get curious about your finances and discuss different topics relating to money and how it impacts your lives. My name is Stefan Revelo. I am a certified financial planner and associate advisor here at Curio Wealth, and I'm joined by my colleague Liz Gillette, who's a founder and senior advisor. And today we're going to discuss what we actually do and why we don't care how much money you have. We're going to give you some insight into what our day-to-day looks like, talk about what value we actually provide, why people just blindly pay us $4,000 minimums to help with their finances, and what topics we actually cover. And spoiler alert, it's not just investments that we talk about in our meetings.
Hi, Stefan. Good morning. One thing we want you guys to know that everything we covered today actually happened in the last 30 days. So we put our heads together and we said, what were some interesting things that happened in the last 30 days? So the people listening to this podcast can get a better feel for what we do. So for the sake of anonymity, we are going to change the names and maybe keep some personal details out because we obviously want to respect our clients' confidentiality. But we're excited to walk through this with you. We've been thinking about this topic for a while. And Stefan and I had an opportunity at Curio to build out this financial planning process exactly how we wanted it. We started from the ground up. We said, what kind of service do people in this phase of their life, call it their 30s and 40s? What kind of conversations do they want to be having? What are some of their challenges? And so we came up with this system that we use now, and we think it's been a pretty big hit. So our plan today is to talk to you a bit about those client cases to give you some real life examples of what we do and what we don't do.
So yeah, I say we just kind of get right into it. So kind of the first person we're going to talk about was Connor, Janet, and Kevin. So this is a couple that came to us. They came with they just had a baby, so it was just they were growing their family, and they came in. They had some questions, wanted us to check how the retirement accounts were doing, kind of the more formal financial planning stuff that maybe you're thinking as the listener. Call it, we're working with them for a little bit. We one day get an email saying, Kevin has a job offer. We need to make a decision by Friday. I think it was like a Wednesday, and we had the call. The email was on a Wednesday. They said, we have this huge decision. It would require us to up and move our family on the drop of a dime from freaking Maryland to across the country, and we need to decide by Friday. And we're like, we were excited about it. We were kind of confused, so we told them, hey, we're available tomorrow. Let's hop on a call. So we scheduled the next day call and just had a deep hour talk. I mean, more than an hour. I think it was more like probably closer to an hour and a half about what they should be considering with this job change. So as most job changes occur, I mean, when they happen, he was getting a pay increase. They were moving to a lower cost living area. So those are two kind of positives. So this was for Kevin. Janet, though, was going to receive a slight pay cut. She was going to stay with her same company. She was actually going to take a little less money with this move. So we're talking about, is her taking a little less with him taking more? Is that worth it? Talking about the schools in the area. They love the area they're in currently. And they love it for the fact that when their child is older, it'll be in a good school district. This was obviously going to change when we to a whole new state. So it was something that we didn't deal with their investments. It wasn't, oh, but what do I do with my old 401k? In that moment in time, that didn't matter. This is a lifestyle decision. Do we want to live in this new area? Is the opportunity great enough for us to leap at it? And it just had a bunch of moving parts that we were trying to just walk through. We were looking at the main thing was, the main argument was, oh, they love the idea because they can get a lot more house than they have now because of a lower cost of area. But then we were talking about the interest rates in this environment aren't great though. So although you'll get a bigger house, your monthly payment's going to be probably double. And we ran the numbers in that meeting and we're showing them, how does this amount sound to you? Oh, that's actually a pretty uncomfortable number. Well, this is unfortunately what you would be dealing with if you were to move. So it was a really good, intense conversation. It ended a little, not bad, but I remember when we gave the advice, we didn't hear from them for like a month. And we were sitting here thinking like, Are they still in Maryland? Did they end up making that leap? We had no idea. They weren't trying to keep us in the dark. They were just truly handling it on their end. So we understood that. So we were giving them their space. And another just kind of component to their financial situation is Janet. So she gets paid in company stock. That was when they first came to us. That was one of her questions. Hey, I get about 20% of my compensations in this form of this stock. How should I be looking at it? Is it the same as my salary? Do I hold on to it? When do I sell it? When can I use it? All very legit questions, especially we have a ton of clients with company stock in the form of compensation. So that does add a complexity where we can kind of come in and help direct kind of the game plan for the stock. And that's always changing. There's times where we're maybe holding on to some. There's some that we sell it immediately. It kind of depends on their goals and what they want to achieve. But this is just one example that we weren't talking about why the S&P 500 was up or the headline that they read on the news. This was truly about the real life in real time. And we were able to be there at a point where they had to make a quick decision of, do we up and move our family roots, which was obviously a big decision to make.
Yeah, it was a high stress time, and it was really awesome that they reached out to us. It felt so good to be able to be there and be available when they needed us to just workshop it. Our job is to be there, to be a voice of reason, to be a sounding board, to say, hey, are you also remember to consider A, B, C, and D? We have to give them the space. That decision is theirs, but we can provide the framework for them to say, these are the things you should be considering. These are the things that should be avoided. And those are the really powerful conversations. As you were talking, I was thinking the coolest thing about Janet and Kevin, the coolest thing about them was we had already worked through the financial planning process. And so we had already dove deep. We knew that at some point they were looking to move. We knew what was their plan with their son. We knew what their career goals were. So that when this opportunity came up, it wasn't like, hey, nice to meet you, financial advisor. I have a job opportunity. Instead, we could help them prioritize their values. And to me, that's one of the most impactful things that we do is we walk our clients through these exercises to say what matters most in your life. What do you want to prioritize? And as busy working people some people have families, just about everyone has demanding careers, lives outside of work and family. It's really awesome to get to know your clients in a level that when they come to you with a big decision, you feel like you can speak to them in a way that's going to help them tap into their own intuition. We are not telling you what to do. It is your life. But if we're playing that role of career counselor in that moment, it's all about helping you stay in tune with what matters most, because there's a lot of noise coming in at a time like that. So yeah, that was a fun one. That was funny, but we were like, did you take the job? And then they said, oh no, thank you so much. Your conversation helped us realize it's not as good as it looked on paper, Okay, Stefan, let me take us into another example. I am thinking of Samantha. Samantha and her husband came to us. They were a new client, and they came to us and said, hey, we feel like we've been doing a lot of things right. We've socked away some money for retirement. We have minimal to no debt. We're in a good place in our careers. We've thought through, we've got our house purchased, so on and so forth. And they said, but we have something embarrassing to admit or to talk to you about. And we said, what's that? And they said, we're sitting on a lot of cash. Well, a lot means different things to different people. And it was interesting that they thought that this was embarrassing, right? They thought maybe we would judge them of like, what do you mean that money could have been in the market? It could have been earning all this money for you. While that is true, there's also a lot worse things you can do with your money, like invest it in ways that you don't know anything about, make it go down in value. They had the money sitting in like a money market account, but it was 6 digits. It was a lot of money. So we don't need to go into a ton of the detail here, but the thing that really caught my attention with them, was we were able to use that meeting, like a 1-hour meeting, to say, all right, guys, you tell us what your thoughts are when you see this money. And so they said some of the common answers. Well, some has to be saved for a rainy day fund, emergency fund. Someone else said, oh, I want like a small renovation I want to do on the house. Someone else said the word vote, which we hear a lot here in Annapolis.
Not the B word, not the B word. Everyone needs this.
The B word. So we use that a lot here in our area. For the record, we're not against it or for it, but my oh my. So they brought up the B word. And so we walked through it and we said, hey, let's use this hour, let's workshop. And between what you envision for this money, we're going to put on our financial advisor hat and say, but we also need to be increasing your 401k contributions. We also need to make sure that your lifestyle and retirement looks similar to your lifestyle now. But I really love that session, Stefan, because we were on Zoom and we shared that whiteboard feature. And with our silly little typing that was pretty terrible in our handwriting, Stefan and I, and whatever the heck two made up names like Samantha and her partner, got up together and we shared the same screen as if we were sitting across from each other. And we said, all right, where should this money go? And we talked it through with them. We let them know that, like, if you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like, we started with the important part. You have to have your emergency fund, and then you have to make sure your retirement is set. You have to check your dots and, cross your T's and dot your I's. And at the end of the day, they were really on track for their goals. So we were able to talk about the B word in a positive way and say, hey, if you're looking to purchase this boat, then this is what we recommend you do. They also had a car to replace, right? We said, what should happen with the car replacement? And I loved that meeting because in 1 hour, they had been sitting on that money for over 3 years. And in 1 hour, we were able to, in a very deliberate way, tell them what to do with that money. And they left the meeting saying, this feels right. This feels like us. And we worked our way through. And ironically, as financial advisors, the remaining amount is what got invested. Isn't that right, Stefan? So isn't that kind of interesting? I think a lot of people will be like, you come in, let's throw a blanket number, $100,000. You come in with $100,000, the financial advisors could be like, invest $90,000, I'll give you $10,000 to play with. We worked it down in a way that we said, okay, this is the remaining batch. This should be focused for different goals. Okay, so I beat that one to death. But what stood out in that conversation to you when we were working through that?
Yeah. I vividly remember we had these things planned. It was our first meeting with them. We had our agenda, things we were going to discuss, and then we found ourselves on this topic for basically 90% of the meeting. So there was one point where you mentioned, you're like, oh, guys, I'm sorry that we're sitting on this for a while. We just really want to get an understanding of your guys' spending patterns, your history with money. We really want to understand you guys to understand this money. Just for like if they were crazy big spenders and they weren't saving early in their career, we wouldn't be giving them these options that we were in that meeting. And we felt like, damn, we had all these other things we want to talk about. We're kind of stuck on this topic. And they said, well, that's exactly why we came to you guys. It was just that one phrase, like, this is why we came. We're on all this cash. Is this all the work they need to do? No, they're still very young. They're very healthy. They still have long careers that they're killing it in right now. So it's not that they're going to hang it up in the next 5 years. But this was a thing that was on their mind for so long, and it was a significant amount of money. And we were able to do it to the best for their own lives. We were trying to maximize their lives, not just their dollars. To Liz's example of, yeah, we could have just said invest 80K. Kind of that's helping us, right? We're managing the money, so that helps bulk our fee up. It helps us make more money. We could have just gave that default advice, but we decided what is the best for them. They've worked hard for this money. They're on an amazing track. How can we maximize? And I'm just mentioning that's why they came. And we're like, okay, well, we're only an hour into our relationship. We got to show more. And we haven't even gotten to the grunt of the things that we're going to do in total. But it was nice that we were able to check off. They weren't trying to find, they didn't ask what the next hottest stock was. They did not ask crypto. Is that the next place for me to park? That's usually what my friends would ask me. Oh, what's the next hottest stock? I'm like, I don't know, to answer your question. That's not what we do. It's really more talking through these conversations, we still talk about technical stuff, but it was just helpful when they shared that their goal was just to try to find a plan for this money. And we were able to do that by just talking about their goals and their history. Do you have any other things to add there?
Oh, no, it's just, that was so well said. It brought me back to our teaser, at the beginning of this episode of like, why do we not even ask people how much money they've saved so far in their first introductory meeting with us, right? To see if they want to become a prospective client. And it's exactly that. Like we mean it. when we say that we're here to say, we will meet you where you are. Here is our fee. It's listed on our website, right? It's a minimum of 4,000. If you've accumulated more assets, it's a bit higher than that. And it's just such a special thing when I think about how we've very purposefully curated that to say, hey, come into the meeting. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about your concerns, your fears. And we're not going, how much money do you have? Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that you don't make enough. Move on, move on. We don't send you a questionnaire and ask you if you have. We're not just in it to get the people who are in a position of wealth and make them wealthier. We are in it to be able to meet someone with where they're at, and that might sound ironic because this person walked in with 6 digits of cash, but it really took me back to the little clip that we said at the beginning of like, yeah, we don't ask how much money is in the bank because we don't know what the future holds. What we care about your spending patterns, your relationship with money, how you watch the people who raise you handle money, when you overspend, what matters most to you. Like those, we spend a lot of time diving deep, don't you think? And the cool thing about diving deep with clients is like, then they recognize that we're in it for them as a person. We're not in it, like you said, that could be considered a conflict of interest, right? Oh, give more of the money to our management so our fee goes up. Well, you and I can't sleep at night if we behave that way, So, okay, so tell them a little bit about the client that we had. It was a female who came in and we recognized, and she was verbalizing that she was in a really challenging phase of her life, right? Yeah. And to me, this one, when we first decided what to talk about in this podcast, like this was the number one for me, because I think it just really represented the fact that you said the phrase, we want to maximize your life, not just your dollars. And sometimes it's the fun stuff. Sometimes it's job opportunities, and sometimes it's extra money. And sometimes it's like, is it okay if I put the brakes on things because, the wheels are coming off a little bit? That's 2 car analogies, but I think I made that work. Okay. So go ahead. You tell them about our third example.
Yeah. So in this situation, I wouldn't say it was a negative thing happening, but it was definitely something real that a lot of us face. And it had a lot to do with kind of work-life balance and how much do I work and how much do I tend to my family, especially in this social media culture and this data we live in now. Everything, at least on my social media platforms, everything is about hustle culture. So you got to work. If you're not working 15 hours a day, you're a loser. You're going nowhere in life, and you'll never achieve anything great. If you're not on a yacht, then what are you doing? I literally saw this video yesterday. It was this kid. It was like this 20-year-old kid saying, like, if you're not driving a Lamborghini by like 27, they're like, what are you doing? Like, it's so easy to make money online through drop shipping and selling course, whatever. I was like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. But it's something that it's constantly fed to us of you need to work, and we are for working hard. So we do believe to achieve great things, you have to work hard. There is phases of life where you're working more than others. So that's just a part of achieving anything great. And that's just not just in money, that's in fitness, that's in your relationships, that's in your faith, whatever the case may be. But there is a point where too much can be too much. And in this particular example, that's exactly what was happening. The client opened up the meeting just looking exhausted, and we could sense it. So we had all these things we want to talk about. We parked everything and just said, kind of tell us what's going on here. We see that you look a little beat up. And she was honest, just saying, I'm exhausted right now. She runs her own business, has 5 children. So when I hear people don't have time, I'm like, this person truly does not have time right now. 5 children and runs her own small business. And she told us she was working overnights. She was working through the nights, basically every day, taking care of being chauffeur to 5 children. And they range from 14 to, I think it's like 7 or 6. Just a wide range of ages, wide range of needs. And she was just like, I'm exhausted. Like, I can't keep doing this. I'm working myself into the ground. I can't be myself for my family. And it was just taking a toll on her. And again, the financial right question is, well, keep pushing through and keep stocking money away for your retirement. That would be the kind of thing everyone should be doing, but that was clearly not going to be the right answer in that situation. So what was our conversation? It was talk about how can we take a step back? How can we scale back our hours? And scaling back your hours, though, since your less money's coming in, yeah, you might have to scale back some luxuries. You're going to have to scale back maybe eating out. But we had a real conversation of what's worth it, doing these little things that give you a high for a couple hours, or truly giving yourself time to breathe and allow you to recharge your battery, to be there for your family again, to be there for your business, for whoever you're working with. And that was the exact route we took. And that's what we recommended to her. We're saying, hey, take a step back for right now. Just until the end of the year, let's just keep it calm, and you don't need to run yourself to the ground. Just because you're not moving 100 miles an hour at all times doesn't mean that you're not moving forward. And we recently got an email where it has helped her immensely. She said she stopped working nights. That was kind of the main thing killing her. And she got back to being herself and being present with her family. She's probably more productive now at work because she's in the right headspace and not just tired. Again, we didn't talk about the freaking stock market. Again, I love when people say what's the hottest stock. Every time no one knows what we do, that's always the question. And this has nothing to do with that. This has everything to do with, yes, it's financial and like, can I do this? If the answer was, if you're going to starve tomorrow and your family's not going to eat, you're going to have to push through, find another work, find another job, another bit. Like that conversation could happen if there was a situation where they were struggling to eat and they need to do something about it. That wasn't the case. They were able to take a step back. She's getting right back into it. She says, I'm working on the business now. She's still doing the things she needs to do, but it helped give her the relief that we're here for her. And that if it wasn't just, we're going to tell you to just work. That's not what life's about. Liz is a mother of 3. That's not how she approaches her life. That's not how I approach my life. No one in our company approaches life that way. Life is all about finances. We need to just worry about saving and work until we die. It truly is enjoy the work. I mean, that's ideal if you like your job. Luckily, we're in that position. But it truly is about finding the balance. And when you actually need the balance, and we'll call you out if we'll be like, we don't think you need a balance. You need to work it up a bit. So we're not always that nice. This person was just in a position where that's what she truly needed, and she was able to do that. And I think that's key to mention because every situation will be different. Not everybody has that much leash you don't need to work, or you could take a step back. So it's always just trying to find that middle ground.
Yeah, it was so relatable, I mean, I think she used the phrase bone tired, which really gives me a visual. And yeah, that day we were supposed to talk about their overall financial plan, and their financial plan was going to be like, all right, hit the pedal to the metal, get going, get saving more, cut out, like you said, some of the fast food or delivery, and this is what's going to happen. And it's like, if we went in that day and she was being honest and saying like, I got nothing left in the tank, and we went in that day and said, great, we're going to motivate you by fear mongering, like that wouldn't have done anything for her. And so, yeah, I so value her honesty and her vulnerability in that scenario, and just saying like, here's where I'm at. And so, trade-offs, Stefan, maybe we're like professional trade-off clarifiers. Like, I don't know what the naming is, but like that really is what a lot of this comes down to, is trade-offs of that first client. Like, what do you do? Do you take the job? Do you not take the job? The second client, you have this cash. What are the trade-offs? Do you want to buy the boat? Do you want to do this? What happens? None of our clients or their advisors are in positions where we can get everything we want and we have unlimited resources. So it just doesn't make sense to us, which is why we like working with our client base, who are real life people who have sacrifices to make. And so, to your point, we could gently help her during that phase. And while we're helping her, be honest with her and say, hey, this is what that trade-off's going to look like. So some of those other goals that you were excited about, those goals are going to see the impact of the fact that you're downshifting your gears right now. But do you believe that makes sense? Do you believe we're prioritizing your well-being? Do we believe your well-being is more important than a future vacation house? And sometimes you just need someone to walk you through that to say, yeah, that actually does make sense. So it's not like we sign a permission slip and say, hey, now, you're all set. We'll worry about the consequences later. We gently said, what do you think? This is what the trade-off would look like. And yeah, that email we got 2 days ago is really encouraging. It's just like, I'm feeling better. I'm able to focus in on my business a lot more. And yeah, just when clients are willing to go there with us, we end up knowing some pretty unique personal secrets, I guess I would say, for clients. So Bon and I always talk about the example where, if someone is able to expand their family, they maybe if they have a partner, they talk to the partner first, maybe before their parents even know, they call us, and they're like, hey, I'm having a baby. What do I need to know from a financial position? I'm pretty sure we were one of the only people that got the job call. So we get these phone calls, or we get these emails and these messages, and it's just such a position of privilege to be able to be there with someone through the good and through the bad, and know that like we are there to support you in any way. You create your life. We are just here helping like facilitate and guide you and keep you on track. When you get distracted, when you get too excited about the high pay raise, and then every time you get together, you say, God, I wish I had more time to do XYZ. We're going to be like, hey, for the record, when we talked earlier about your priorities, you said you wanted more time, but you keep taking jobs that make more money. That's cool and all. Like, we'll invest it. You can get more money, but is that really what you want? And then vice versa. For our last example, I want to talk a little bit about a client that I just want to commend them. We got a phone call from a client letting us know that they had made some poor spending decisions. They have been working with us for many years, and between the Christmas holiday and things going on and changes in their life, they said, we got to schedule a call with you two. Me and Stefan were like, right? Like they were so, they didn't tell us what it was about. So we had no idea what was going to happen. They had, of course, like all of our clients, they had lots of changes in their lives. And then they said, so we made some mistakes. We accrued some pretty significant debt. It happened to be in the form of credit card debt. And just like many people in society, it's got that yucky feeling. It's got that embarrassment. So it makes me think about like, they're not going to tell their parents. They're not going to tell their siblings. They're not going to tell their friends. But the part that really struck me was they could have gotten away with that. Like, for the record, we do not see your bank statements. We're not reviewing your transactions and saying, how much money did you spend at Trader Joe's? Like, they could have got away with it. They're high earners. They could have found a way to pay it off and say like, hey, next time we send you the meeting notes, just like, oh yeah, we didn't save as much this month. But that meeting really resonated with me because they came to us and they said, we're here to pay the piper. We know that this relationship's about accountability. We mishandled our money. What do we do? How do we get back on track? And I just think that's like the ultimate form of strength, to be able to do that, to be like, you could have gotten away with it. What's that definition of character? It's like what happens when no one's in the room and no one's looking. Yeah, like I've always really liked that. And to me, that was, I wanted to pull that in as our fourth and final example, because I just thought that one was really interesting to say, like, we do the good stuff with the clients, we do the challenging stuff with the clients, and if our relationship is going the way that we want it to, they're also willing to share with us, some of their challenges. And we, just like parents, we said, thank you for the honesty. We appreciate it. Now we are going to face these consequences,
No, that meeting also just stuck out to me. I remember I was in the meeting, and I think I even said it. I was like, I took off my financial advisor cap. We were talking about we were more on the topic of kind of the personal stuff and thinking about what this could do for the long term, what this could do with your family. And then I was just sharing my experience with kind of credit card debt in not necessarily in my life, but in what I've seen in my family history. And I shared with the clients that this means a lot, them coming to us, because I heard about it in my own circles, but it was always turned a blind eye. So no one ever talked about it directly. It was just this looming kind of cloud that was always there. And I shared that, and I shared how that approach doesn't work either. So the best way to do it, and they are in an amazing position. Like Liz said, they could have never told us, took care of it on the back end, say bad on us, let's not let it happen again. But they were proactive, and our relationships at a point where they felt comfortable coming to us and saying, hey, we need to have a discussion about this. And we hold that in the most highest regard. I mean, the more willingness you have to own up to things is much more impressive than saying, oh, I have this fancy job, I make all this money. Like, we truthfully just don't care for that. Like, that's not the type of person we want to work with. That's not why we're in this business. Can be seen as like a pretentious and kind of bougie for my younger listeners. But that's not the goal. The goal truly is to help people make everyday decisions and just be that sounding board. Provide no judgment. There's nothing that you could tell us that like we haven't heard before. We've heard very extreme cases on the both positive and negative side. So there's nothing that will kind of shock us. It's just a matter of, can we make the client feel comfortable enough to come with us when these things happen? And that's not always the case. These are exceptional clients. And I would say more often than not, this would be wiped brushed under the rug. Yeah, there you go. But they took the opposite approach and allowed us to kind of be alongside them. And that's what working with us is always is. We're always next to you, kind of helping guide frameworks for conversations between couples, between individuals. But we're not here to just say, you can do that, put your money here. We're never telling you what to do. We're kind of giving you what the options are available. And you're the informed, disciplined investor. I mean, these people we're working with are arguably smarter than us. We just happen to have this one skill set that they don't have, that everybody needs of handling money. But the engineers, the doctors, like they're a very smart bunch. And we're just lucky that we get to play this kind of small role in their life of guiding their kind of financial decisions.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, when I think about those 4 things, and we'll wrap up here. This has probably been my favorite episode. I don't know if I've ever said that in another one, but for the record, this is my favorite. It just feels like those are the themes. This is real life. This is having conversations with people that maybe you do have someone in your life that you share some of this stuff with. But ultimately, my favorite thing is when a member of my family walks by. I obviously work from home. A member of my family walks by the door. They hear laughing, or they hear really serious talking, or they hear us consoling someone who's maybe, crying or going through a tough time. And they're like, oh, who is that? Oh, is that your best friend? Oh, who are you talking to? I'm like, that's my client, and it's just, to me, that is such a gift that we can be selective at this stage in our career, Stefan, like that we have the client base, that we've seen the success of how we've set this up. We have the loyalty of our clients. We have exceptional people that we work with that are so generous with their time, with referrals, that we get to be really selective. So we get to meet each new prospective client, and kind of back to that original point, it's not how much money do you have saved? What's your fee going to be? It's like, how's this feel? Because this is not what every financial planning firm does. I would argue no one does this. So I think it's something really special that we've created this community and we've created this culture so that when a prospective person comes in and they say, all right, so tell me, what's your investment strategy? How does all this work? By all means, we'll talk numbers all day, right? We've got that expertise. But what we're looking for is that softer side. Is this person willing to go there with us? Are they willing to have some of those challenging conversations? Are they excited to learn? Because as you said, behind the scenes, a lot of these people, we have had those educational sessions with them, and we've talked to them about the way the market works and the way that their money is invested. And the best part is, if we're in a place of safety and trust in our relationship, then when the stock market drops, which it will, we just can't tell you when, but when the stock market drops, they're calling us and saying, hey, I want to put more money in the market. They're not freaking out and saying, what's happening? Why am I paying you guys? What are you doing? So, yeah, I just want to say I really enjoy this conversation. Like, for what it's worth, how lucky am I to have you as my colleague? Like, this is the coolest that we get to do this job. And we hope today was helpful for all of you listeners out there. Just to hear a little bit about it, is what we do, how we operate. Hopefully we answered all those taglines at the beginning that we kind of threw out there. But it's pretty special work, and we are so lucky to do what we do. So I hope you enjoyed hearing this inside scoop. Stefan, you want to close us out?
Yeah. No, yeah. And I'm trying to add one final sentence. Don't get it twisted. If you guys want to nerd out on investments, I have my investing principles printed on my desk, and we love to talk about this stuff. So we have clients that just want to nerd out about the stock market. Oh, trust me, we are all for that. But we just wanted to truly show that that's not 90% of our meetings, what people think. That can play that 20% where we're talking about the portfolio and all that. We do get into the weeds if you want to, and we ask the client how deep you want to go. But we do talk about investments. It's just we make sure to highlight the things that actually matter to the client, and not all the time. The portfolio is not the most important thing. It's my family, my career, and we try to help focus on that. But yeah, as Liv's point, we just want to give you guys some insight about what our lives look like, what our clients and conversations do. So we appreciate you taking the time to listen to us. Please drop a like, subscribe, comment down below. Any engagement, we greatly appreciate. You can find us on curiowealth.com and as well as on YouTube and Instagram and LinkedIn, kind of anywhere you're on social media. So feel free to follow us there. And thank you for listening.
Thanks, guys. Bye.